How's it going, everyone? My name is Patrick. I'm a doctor of physical therapy, a precision nutrition L1 coach, and a 180 system provider. So today I'm going to be talking about the basics of diabetes and some fun stuff about it. Now, I am the founder of the Diabetes Management Group, where we are focused on helping people with type 2 diabetes and prediabetes put their disease into remission through health and wellness coaching. This presentation is also going to encompass type 1 diabetes and screening for that. So there's going to be information for people who are interested in hearing more about that. So, overview, why am I passionate about diabetes? So I had prediabetes back in 2021, and I was able to put it into remission in 2022 with lifestyle changes. Between the periods of 2020 and 2021, I experienced the hallmark symptoms of diabetes, but I didn't know it at the time, despite being in college, getting my athletic therapy degree, learning about medicine, and getting into my physical therapy degree. I experienced hunger pains, like someone is grabbing a knife and stabbing it into my stomach and twisting it around. Even though I ate 2 hours beforehand or eating pretty recently, I just wasn't sure why I felt hungry all the time. And I also found myself needing to go to the bathroom an arduous amount of time. So I would be in my classrooms, and all of a sudden, 10 minutes later, I get this strong urge that I need to go to the bathroom. I go to the bathroom, I pee, I come back. And then all of a sudden, 30 minutes later, I have that strong urge again to go to the bathroom. And it was crazy. It got to the point where at nighttime, I had to wake up 9 times to use the bathroom. And I just couldn't sleep because of how awful I had the urge to go. And in addition to the sleep issues and the hunger pains, I felt this chronic fatigue wherever I went, that it was hard to study for my degree. It was hard to stay focused for conversations when I'm chatting with my friends, and even doing basic things like brushing my teeth or getting ready in the morning. I just felt drained and exhausted. Not to mention thirsty. Like, I could drink multiple water bottles of 40-liter containers at times, and all of a sudden I still have that urge that I need to drink a lot more water. And this happened so many different times, and I just got frustrated with everything. And that's when I decided to talk to a healthcare provider and got my blood work done, and they learned that I had prediabetes, which gave me immediate flashbacks of my grandpa who passed away from type 2 diabetes. So if you could see the screen right over here with the slides, my grandpa's in that white shirt. We're celebrating his birthday, and he wasn't able to eat his favorite strawberry cream cake for his birthday. Instead, he had to watch his entire family eat it because he was afraid that was going to take his blood sugars through the roof, and he wasn't going to be able to enjoy the rest of his birthday. And there's me sitting on that top right over there, not knowing how the consequences of diabetes impacted him later in the future. Because I thought that was part of growing up and normalized the process that, oh, people get older, they have diabetes, and then they pass away. When in reality, that was definitely not the case. And as I went through my schooling and my education, and also getting my certifications in different aspects in the healthcare field, it really opened my eyes to what diabetes is and how it can be managed for lifestyle factors. So, getting into today's agenda, we're going to talk about the myths and facts about diabetes screening tips, balance and fall prevention tips for people who are at increased risk for falls, and fitness and nutrition tips for people with diabetes. So, myth or facts? Please be sure to comment in the comments down below of what you think about these, if it is a myth or a fact. So let's start with the first one. Eating too much sugars causes diabetes. Let that sink in for a second. Do you think this is a myth, or do you think this is a fact? I'll give you a few more seconds to think about it. All right, I'm pretty sure you got an answer now. So that is a myth. The root cause of type 2 diabetes and prediabetes is actually insulin resistance, which is multifactorial. The root cause of type 1 diabetes, it is a genetic condition where the body starts to attack its pancreas and prevents it from producing enough insulin. And for type 2 diabetes and prediabetes, the insulin resistance can be caused from increased stress. It can be caused to lack of physical activity and not allowing those muscles to become strong enough or large enough to move those blood sugars into the body, which we'll get to in a little bit, and a variety of different other factors too, even caloric imbalances. So if someone's eating too many calories compared to what they're using up, that can lead to increased fat mass, leading to more insulin resistance because fat prevents blood sugars are being utilized effectively or being used as fuel effectively, and it just causes unnecessary hardship and stress on the body, leading to that insulin resistance. The next one, comment down below what you think if this is a myth or a fact. Any blood sugar spikes are bad. I'll give you a few seconds. Type that in the comments down below. Share your thoughts. I'd love to hear your reasonings and rationale because I love reading the comments. And are you ready for this? This is a myth. So blood sugar spikes are normal, and it is a part of the basic human function and even other biological functions for a dog, a cat, and everyone else. So let's understand the blood sugar trends. So whenever we decide to eat food, whether that is carbs or sugars, fats and proteins, they are digested and then they eventually move from the stomach into our blood. So that's what causes our blood sugars to come up, because it's moving from the stomach to the blood. Now, some people may be asking, fats and proteins they're not sugars, so why would it cause blood sugars to go up? Actually, whenever the body is deprived of sugars, it'll actually use fats and proteins and turn them into sugars through a process called gluconeogenesis, so that it can allow the brain, because the brain's primary source of fuel is sugars, in order to fuel the brain and actually allow it to think and process things more clearly. So when it moves from the stomach into the blood, of course, the blood sugars go up because now the sugars are in the blood. And the things that can allow it to go down, it's insulin and exercise. So they cause the blood sugars to go down because they shuttle it from the blood into the muscles and the organs, causing it to decrease and causing blood sugars to go down. And an example that I like to give with this is, imagine you are waiting in line to go to your favorite concert, and there's only one door and one entry, and a security guard uses his key to open up the door and allow people to come in one at a time. So let's just imagine that key is the insulin. So for people with type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance, imagine that key gets jammed in the door, or the lock isn't quite working, so the door's not able to open up. And the people, they represent the blood sugars, and the sugars and the area that people are going to for that concert, that is the organ that's trying to use up those blood sugars off as fuel and lowering the blood sugar inside the body. So whenever there is insulin resistance due to stress, due to increased insulin resistance, that actually prevents the body from opening up those doors and allowing the people to go into that concert. And in order to help improve that, increasing that insulin sensitivity, having a lot more fiber, imagine fiber like it's a anti-rust, and it allows it to reduce the rust off of the key lock or the key, or think about it like it's WD-40, where it's able to lubricate the lock so that it can actually accept the key, opening that up and allowing people to efficiently go in and out of the door more effectively. As far as exercise, so imagine instead of having one door to let people into the concert, there are multiple doors that lets people into the concert. So exercise that can actually increase the amount of doors that allows the blood sugars to move from the blood and into the organs, the muscles, to be used off as fuel. So the combination of having more fiber and having more protein, that actually helps a lot in allowing blood sugars to be effectively utilized and causing it to go down. All right, next one. Being skinny can increase risk for insulin resistance. Type your thoughts below. Do you think this is a myth, or do you think this is a fact? Alrighty, time is up. Let's check it out. So this is a fact. People with reduced muscle mass are at increased risk for type 2 diabetes, because there isn't as much of those doors to let people into that concert, that analogy that I used earlier. So that causes more of the line of people to pile up and having a harder time to get into that concert. So not as many doors, not as much opportunities for the blood sugars to enter into the muscle. And by increasing someone's muscle mass, that actually allows the blood sugars to be utilized more effectively and increasing insulin sensitivity. So next one, myth or fact? Type it in the comments below. Does type 2 diabetes, it can be reversed? Let that sink in. All right, this is technically a myth. So reverse means that it's going to go away and it's not going to come back. However, in reality, type 2 diabetes, it's put into remission with lifestyle changes. And more severe cases, they may still need more medications to remain in remission. The reason why is because type 2 diabetes it's similar to weight loss. Like when someone loses their weight, it doesn't mean that the weight's never going to come back, depending on their lifestyle factors of how much are they moving, what are the quality of nutrients that they're getting in. That dictates how effective their body is in utilizing things, utilizing the energy stores, utilizing the nutrients, and utilizing the blood sugars. So with type 2 diabetes and prediabetes, there's already some damages that occur into the body that makes it so it's not as insulin sensitive as it was in the past. So because of that, maybe the pancreas or maybe the parts of the body, it's not as sensitive in utilizing the blood sugars. That's why for some people, depending on how much pancreas function they have or the insulin resistance that they have, then that's going to impact their ability to put into remission and whether or not they need medications to continue on in managing their health. And of course, the lower the A1C is, the better off their body is in managing those changes and for shorter periods of time. Try to keep those A1Cs into better levels, and that's going to be super helpful. All right, so for diabetes screening, so here's some modifiable risks and some unmodifiable risks. High blood pressure, that can be modified by increasing physical activity levels. Medications can assist with that, or reducing stress, so that's something that is modifiable. Lack of resistance exercise. So as we know, someone who's skinny, but they don't participate in resistance exercise, that actually prevents enough muscle mass from being made to utilize those blood sugars. Now, there's a common misbelief thinking that, oh, if I lift weights, that's going to cause me to become bulky. When in reality, majority of the time, people do not get bulky when they lift weights. After all, there's plenty of mothers that are out there who are lifting their kids who are about 50 pounds, carrying the carts and all those stuff, and they're not freakishly bulky. Instead, they're still pretty slender and slim. So resistance exercise still do that effectively. People will become more leaner, and that allows for improved blood sugar control, reducing risk for other factors like a fall. Lack of cardio exercises. So heart health is very important because the stronger the heart is in being able to support the body and pumping the blood throughout the system, the heart also uses the sugars as its fuel source. So the more that we can train the heart by doing cardio exercises, such as taking brisk walks, doing bicycling, or other factors like that, actually helps improve the heart's health in doing activities more effectively. Diet is another factor too. So having higher protein foods, higher fiber, depending on what one's kidney function is to tolerate the amount of protein, that's going to be super helpful too. Stress, so reducing that stress, whether that is doing meditation videos or other forms of stress relieving activities, that can help in reducing the risk for diabetes and improving insulin resistance. Lack of quality sleep, so I highly recommend using an eye mask, blackout curtains, earplugs if someone needs that to improve their quality of sleep, because without much sleep, that makes it harder for the body to recover appropriately and doing the things that it needs to do. And then lean muscle mass versus fat mass. So the more lean muscle mass someone has, and if they have healthier amounts of fat mass where it's optimal for hormone production, that's going to, and also padding for parts of their joints and such, that's going to be helpful in reducing the risk for type 2 diabetes. Of course, if that ratio is more skewed where there's more fat mass compared to lean muscle mass, that's more insulin resistant. So ideally, having more lean muscle mass over the fat mass would be very beneficial. And then active versus sitting jobs. So of course, the more someone is active, the more that their muscles are using the blood sugars. So more doors at that concert to let people in, more effective in doing things, and more effective in moving the blood sugars into the body to be used up as fuel. Unmodifiable things. People get older, that can't be changed. Genetics, people cannot change their genetics. And then if they are along these heritage or ethnic backgrounds, those genetic factors also causes them to have increased risk for type 2 diabetes. And of course, increased risk does not mean that someone is going to have it. Instead, by changing the more modifiable factors, someone is able to overcome those unmodifiable factors. All right. Now, to help those with type 1 diabetes, for those who are increased risk for it, if they have first degree relatives, parents, siblings, if they have children, 8 to 15 times higher risk of developing the disease. And then second degree relatives with type 1 diabetes, grandparents, grandchildren, half siblings, et cetera, have twice the risk. However, over 80% of people with type 1 diabetes have no family history of the disease, and it just happens to them. So for someone to say, oh, eating sugars causes diabetes, that is absolutely false. And there's a lot of genetic factors that are impacting people with type 1 diabetes. All right, type 1 diabetes screenings. It's shown by the research that if someone has a history of hypothyroidism, aka Hashimoto's disease, or hyperthyroidism or Graves' disease, type A gastritis, or even a past history of COVID-19 with the hallmark symptoms, which I'll go into next slide, that can actually increase someone's risk of having type 1 diabetes, and having an autoantibody test will actually help to determine those risk factors. So here's the hallmark symptoms of it. So excessive thirst, excessive hunger, unexplained weight loss because the body's not able to utilize the sugars and they're not absorbing the nutrients. Therefore, there's a misbalance of their body adjusting to it. Blurry vision, slow healing, cuts and sores, fatigue, infections of the private areas, frequent urination, and there's different factors and symptoms that's associated with it that increases someone's risk for it. So if someone's experiencing those factors, it's okay to get a screening for it. All right, so the next portion of the presentation, we're going to talk about balance and fall risk prevention tips. So here's the different components of balance. Every person, every human has a form of echolocation capabilities in their body, where whenever we turn our head, the echoes and reflections of the small noises is reflected back to our ears to determine where we are in space. The other factor is our eyes. So whenever someone experiences hearing loss and they're not able to detect things with their echolocation ability, their eyes are going to overcompensate a lot more to effectively address the balance impairments. And then sensation of the feet. So for people with type 2 diabetes, type 1 diabetes, they may have the effects of diabetic peripheral neuropathy, where the sensation of their feet, the nerves of their feet die away, and they're not able to sense what's going on in the floor. These different factors actually are increased risk for someone with type 2 diabetes and wasting away all three of these different forms of balance. So cataracts or glaucomas or diabetic retinopathy impacting the eyes. And then for the ear, there's been some research studies that has taken a look at the impact of type 2 diabetes, type 1 diabetes, and the effects of hearing loss or hearing impairments. And they found that it increases the risk for it because if the blood sugar levels are too high for too long of periods, those different factors together, that can actually cause the environment where the hearing function is lost because it's not able to receive a proper nutrient supply to keep the nerves of our ears alive to sense where the things are at. Okay, so for balance, a simple balance test that I use as a physical therapist is a 5-time sit-to-stand test. So this is assessing if someone has the strength and the ability to get up from a chair and sit down safely from their bathroom chair or from the regular chairs. And if someone is not able to do that, that actually increases the risk for falls. So by practicing the sit to stands, can someone sit up and sit down 5 times as quickly and safely without using their arms? Let's try that out. So you do this at home if you have the ability to stand. And of course, if you do not trust yourself by doing it without your hands, then of course, please use your hands. But you're going to cross your arms over your shoulders, just like what I'm doing in my small little bubble. You stand up and down, up and down. 4 and 5. Good. So if someone's able to do it in less than 12 seconds, that reduces their risk for falling and shows that they have enough strength control to get up from the toilet seat more safely. Things to consider whenever someone is exercising is, can someone stand up and sit down slow and in control? So that shows how much muscle control that they have. If someone has to lean forward a bunch of different times before they could actually stand up, that actually shows that they are at increased risk of falls too, because there's not enough leg strength in the muscle of their legs to get up safely. So it's important to participate in exercises like getting up and down from the chair frequently throughout the day, and we'll talk about more of those guidelines that's recommended to help someone out. All right, next thing, fitness and nutrition tips. So when should someone test their blood sugars? I generally recommend in the morning time, before meals, 2 hours after meals, because that's when the peak of blood sugars are after meals, and at the evening time. So there are different types of food types. they are complex carbs like oatmeal. That means that the blood sugar spikes are not going to be as high. They're going to be a lot more slower because of the fiber that they have that's in the makeup of the food, and making the body have a hard, taking a longer process to digest those sugars, so the blood sugars don't go up as high. Simple carbs, so if anyone is having a hypoglycemic episode, if their blood sugar is below about 70 milligrams per deciliter, then having those simple carbs is helpful because it could allow the blood sugars to come back up more quickly to be within ranges again. The typical ranges after meals that some people recommend is about 70 milligrams per deciliter all the way up to 140. Some sources have it up to 180. However, between a 70 to 140 throughout the day for more periods of time is generally super helpful. And checking it 2 hours after the meals is a smart choice because, of course, as I talked about, blood sugars will rise up and then it'll come back down after having a meal because that's pretty normal for how our body processes the nutrients. Lean protein, so having chicken breasts or beans, legumes, that has a good amount of protein, and that takes the body a larger amount of time to digest it. And it also helps repair our muscles. So if someone is looking to improve their muscle mass to reduce the risk for diabetes, having the protein is very beneficial in slowing down the digestion process of other carbs and also allowing more doors to be built in that concert analogy that I talked about earlier. Saturated fats, so butter or fats that are solid at room temperature, that can actually increase the risk for type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance, even with people with type 1 diabetes and their insulin resistance, is if they have too many of those. So if it's already solid at room temperature, then that needs to be taken lightly, so in moderation, so that it can allow the body to avoid having increased buildup of fat tissue inside their body, just because saturated fats, it's about 8 calories per 1 gram, or sometimes 9 calories per 1 gram, depending on the source. And the goal is, can we help make sure that we have lean amounts of foods so that it's helpful in our body's ability to produce things. I will say saturated fats are also important for the production of hormones in our body for insulin sensitivity. So, for example, testosterone and estrogen, very important sex hormones to allow the body to recover safely from physical activity or recovering from different factors of the day. Super helpful. So in moderation is great. Unsaturated fats, that's amazing for brain health. So olive oil, extra virgin olive oil is amazing. Getting it from nuts and helpful in allowing that brain health to be amazing. And of course, fats, those are also slow in increasing blood sugars. So if you're noticing that, oh, my blood sugars aren't going as high when I pair something, if I pair my bread with some peanut butter, it's not going to spike up as high compared to just eating the bread alone, because that helps to blunt how high it goes. Of course, I would always recommend trying to have a source of a complex carb, a healthy fat, and a protein. If I were like very skim and bones for things, then fiber source and a protein source, and that helps a lot in blood sugar control, and that's what I found helpful for myself. Okay, balance is key. So if you want a simple carb, then pair it with a food rich in fiber and lean protein and have less of that simple carb. So if I wanted to eat some cake, then I'll have a smaller slice of that cake. I'll pair it with something rich in fiber. So maybe for the meal before the cake, I'm going to have some beans, baked beans, and then I'm going to pair some chicken breast with it, just so that it's going to help with my blood sugar control as I have that food with the cake. And then goals for fiber and protein. So if there's a recommendation that's out there where they say 1 gram of protein per 1 pound of body weight, or 2 grams of protein per 1 kilogram of body weight, is very beneficial. I know for some people that might be hard to achieve in the first little bit of time. So maybe start off with something smaller, like 30 to 40 grams of protein each meal. Check the nutrition label, understand how many grams of protein is for each thing. And if someone is also able to get about 15 to 20 grams of fiber each meal, they multiply it by 3, and that's able to get about 50 to 60 grams of protein. That helps a lot in allowing the blood sugars to be improved, for helping clear out the body of the weights that are out there and improving the bulk of stool bulk, so that going to the bathroom is a lot better. That is helpful in blood sugar control. Other things too, if someone has kidney disease, then 0.363 grams of protein per pound of body weight or zero point 0.8 grams of protein per 1 kilogram of body weight is the baseline goal for people with kidney disease. Of course, talking with a dietitian, specifically someone who is a diabetes educator, would be very beneficial in helping people in managing their diabetes. Now, what about sports and exercise? So resistance training, cardio, timing of exercise, intensity of exercise, those all play huge influence in blood sugar control. So the more someone is going to be involved with resistance training, that allows their muscles to be utilized much more effectively. Multi-joint muscles, aka if someone's doing that sit to stand that we did earlier, that works the hips, that works the knees, that works the ankles, that uses a lot more muscles. So that form of resistance training, maybe grabbing a water bottle or grabbing a backpack and doing that exercise, that helps to strengthen up the muscles a lot more, improving the lean muscle mass so that insulin sensitivity improves dramatically. Cardio to help improve the heart's ability to utilize those blood sugars and improving the blood vessel health so that it can delay the onset or prevent how quickly a diabetic peripheral neuropathy is progressing. That helps significantly in allowing the body to be more effective at improving its markers for health markers, and also improving insulin sensitivity and getting that down too. And then timing of exercise and the intensity of exercise. So the timing of exercise, if someone is going to be doing an activity after if you think about it this way, how we talked about before is if someone decides to eat food, that's going to cause the blood sugars to go up. So if it goes up, something to help it come down a lot more effectively, allowing more doors to open. That's by going on a walk after a meal or maybe doing some sit to stands a couple minutes after the meal once it's digested a bit. That allows the muscles to soak up those blood sugars more effectively and using up its supplies and stores so that blood sugars can be more at a better time. If someone decides, oh, I'm just going to do some exercises when my blood sugars are low, that's going to be a struggle because if it's already looking like it's at 80 milligrams per deciliter and it's trending downwards, doing more exercise to make it trend even more downwards is probably not the best idea because that's going to be more harmful than good because it might cause the body to be too low of blood sugars and it's going to be an issue for preserving brain health and other parts of health because everyone wants to avoid an issue where their body doesn't have enough sugars or energy and fuel to do anything. It's imagine driving a car, it's out of gas and it's stuck on the side of the road. We want to avoid that at all costs. And then the next thing, intensity of exercise. So higher intensity exercises. So if someone doing those sit to stands, man, that was really hard exercise, that could actually cause blood sugars to go up in the short term because the body's releasing more stress hormones such as cortisol, epinephrine to prepare the body to do movement. It's basically the liver releasing more sugars into the body to send it to the muscles. So in the short term, it'll go up. But since those muscles are still working, being active, they could be active for up to 2 days after a intense bout of exercise. So that actually, in the long term, later throughout the day, the blood sugars will actually go down a lot more effectively because those muscles are utilizing those sugars to help with recovery and also using it for performing the action or task that's being done. So other things too, exercise next. So if there's been research that shows that doing 10 squats or a 3-minute walk every 45 minutes leads to better blood sugars compared to a continuous 30-minute walk. So space it out throughout the day, make it fun, make it a task, or 1 minute of sit to stands or 2-minute brisk walks every 30 minutes improves insulin sensitivity. So keep it short, keep it simple, move throughout the day. That allows the blood sugars to be more effective in being more utilized and keeping the body a lot more healthier so that it can keep doing things. So if I don't want to sit up and down from a chair, or maybe I don't want to do walking, instead call a friend and talk to them on the phone while walking around for a solid 2 minutes. Or if someone's watching their favorite TV show, every time that a commercial comes up, try doing a round of those sit to stands. So those different activities help significantly in making the body more effective at managing those blood sugars. And let's just keep it more effective in helping the body through with things. So make it fun. I've had some people where maybe it's doing chores. So scheduling doing chores and breaking it up between doing some activities, that helps a lot for allowing those blood sugars to be more beneficial. All right. Thank you all so much for listening into this presentation and this recording. If you have any questions, feel free to visit my website to learn more about what we can do for you. I have an awesome blog on there and from free ebooks that are on there to help assist you with your diabetes management journey. And then I do specialize in type 2 diabetes and prediabetes, but if you are looking for help and support with type 1 diabetes, I have a lot of connections that I can connect you with if you are interested in that. And then my email address is right over there. Send me an email. I'm happy to help you out, and connect with me on social media. I am on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Find me over there, and I'm happy to assist you. And without further ado, I hope you all do one small action to improve your health for the day. If that means taking one extra step in the day, if that means trying out one of the sit-to-stand activities, that's going to be significantly helpful. And if you would like personalized diabetes programming and planning or group coaching sessions to help you reach your goals a lot more effectively and a coach to help guide you along that path, let me know. I've been through that journey. I've been through that process. And with my specialties in physical therapy, being a nutrition coach, I'm happy to help assist in any way that I can and with the time that's allocated for me. All right. You all have a good one. Thank you so much for tuning in, and please share this with a friend that you think it'd be helpful for. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed, and comment down below what your favorite part was about this presentation or a learning moment. I'd love to hear it. Peace out.